Guardian of Caldris. Prologue.
The Light That Stayed. When the priests first found the boy, they almost walked past him. He wasn't praying, he wasn't crying, he wasn't begging. He was kneeling beside an elderly woman whose basket had split apart, carefully repairing it with strips torn from his own shirt. The old priest watched silently before speaking. "You'll ruin your clothes." The boy looked up. "But it can still help." "And what about you?" The child simply shrugged. "I still have hands." That answer stayed with the priest for the rest of his life. The orphan was given no famous name, no prophecy followed his arrival, no heavenly chorus filled the skies. He simply became another novice, one novice among dozens, average with the mace, forgettable with the blade, slow to memorize scripture. But whenever another novice struggled, he was already helping, before anyone asked. He cleaned wounds, fetched water, repaired broken stools, shared meals. When food was scarce, his own portion quietly disappeared. No one noticed, until everyone realized they had eaten. Years passed. While the other novices prayed for miracles, the young cleric prayed for opportunities. His first blessing was hardly spectacular. A frightened child burning with fever, a single touch, a quiet prayer, a gentle warmth. By morning, the fever had broken. The temple celebrated. He asked only one question. "If I can heal one child, how do I stop the next one from becoming sick?" The old priest smiled. "You ask strange questions." The young cleric looked genuinely puzzled. "I thought they were the obvious ones." The priest never forgot that answer. That single question became the foundation of his life. He blessed wells, organized drainage, helped repair roads, convinced farmers to irrigate their fields differently. He blessed orchards instead of battlefields. People laughed, until harvest doubled, until children stopped starving through winter, until sickness became rare. The miracles were no longer happening inside the temple, they were happening throughout the city. People soon stopped bringing him only illnesses. They brought broken bridges, disputes between neighbors, lonely widows, hungry travelers, young apprentices searching for purpose. He never claimed to have every answer, but everyone left with more hope than when they arrived. One morning, a young alchemist named Mia arrived with powder still clinging to her hands. She hesitated before speaking. "I love alchemy, but—" She smiled sheepishly. "I don't want to spend my whole life making potions. I want to grow them." He tilted his head. She continued, "I dream of a healing garden, a place where every flower carries the sun's blessing, where medicine grows naturally. I don't want to sell cures, I want to grow hope." For a long moment, he simply smiled. "Then let's build it." He spent the next week visiting every farmer he had ever helped. He never demanded, never commanded, only asked. "If you can spare fertile soil without harming your own farms, there is someone whose dream may one day heal thousands." The response astonished even him. Before sunrise the following morning, wagons rolled toward the city. Barrels of rich earth, fruit trees, seeds, stone, timber, entire families volunteered their labor. Not because a priest had ordered them, because years before someone had quietly helped them. Kindness had become its own harvest. The garden grew. Golden lilies radiated gentle warmth. Amber wheat shimmered beneath the morning sun. Medicinal herbs flourished beyond anything scholars believed possible. Travelers often found themselves recovering more quickly after resting among the flowers. Mia stood speechless. "I dreamed of a garden." He smiled. "You inspired a city." The townsfolk insisted Mia's family should live beside it. Builders donated labor, carpenters offered timber, farmers delivered supplies. Within weeks, a modest stone home overlooked the fields. For the first time in generations, Mia's family owned land. Tears filled her eyes. I never dreamed my family would have a home. You earned it, he replied. I merely reminded people that what generosity looks like. Mia refused to let the gift become charity. If my family can maintain the farm, I'd still like to help you. My brothers can tend the garden. I can continue my research with you. He nodded warmly. The city needs your garden, and I need your friendship. So they settled into a rhythm. Her family nurtured the fields. Mia returned regularly to the sanctuary, where together they studied every new plant the miraculous soil produced. When the first harvest finally came, he requested samples of every crop. Days became weeks, books filled with observations. Finally, he discovered something extraordinary. The lilies radiated gentle warmth without flame. Their wheat carried a faint amber glow. The herbs soothed illness far beyond anything known to medicine. These were not merely plants, they were physical manifestations of divine grace. Food itself had become healing, not just for the body, but for the soul. Rather than keeping the discovery secret, they documented everything. Together, Mia and the scholar Silas compiled a beautifully illustrated volume, The Resonance Garden, a liturgy of growth. It taught not merely how to cultivate the miraculous crops, but why. Every chapter reminded readers that compassion prepared the soil long before blessings touched it. The book spread rapidly. Soon monasteries across neighboring kingdoms requested copies. Merchants queued outside the sanctuary's tiny printing workshop. Scholars traveled from distant cities to purchase the work. What had begun as a dream became something much greater. Months later, Sister Alara arrived carrying 3 heavy ledgers. She placed them before him with an enormous grin. "You're going to like these." He looked up from repairing an old prayer book. "Our accounts?" She nodded. Sales from the resonant garden and sanctuary's illuminated texts had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Regional temples ordered hundreds of copies. Merchants carried them across kingdoms. The sanctuary's humble print workshop had become one of Caldris's fastest-growing enterprises. "We've never had this much silver," Alara said. He stared quietly at the figures before asking, "How many people made this possible?" She frowned. What do you mean?" "The farmers, Mia, Silas, you, the apprentices, the townsfolk. Without them, there would be no books." He gently closed the ledger. "None of this belongs to me." That evening, the sanctuary gathered beneath the stained glass dome. He counted 3 small bags, 100 silver pieces each. The first he handed to Alara. "You turned chaos into order." She laughed. "I balanced ledgers. You balanced much more than that." The second he gave to Silas. "You preserved knowledge that will outlive all of us." Silas smiled. "I'll spend every coin on rare inks." I expected nothing less. Finally, he placed the 3rd bag into Mia's hands. She stared in disbelief. "I already have my garden." "You have your future. Buy the seeds no one believes can grow." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "You already have. You grew hope." 3 exchanged amused glances, not because of the silver, because each immediately knew how to spend it helping others. Alara expanded the sanctuary library. Silas acquired forgotten manuscripts. Mia purchased exotic seeds from distant kingdoms. The sanctuary no longer felt like a workplace. It felt like a family. As evening settled over Lumaria, He wandered towards the city's trading hall. Steel sang rhythmically inside. Galen dismissed his students before greeting him with a warm smile. "I hear you've accidentally made the city wealthy." He chuckled. "I was only trying to grow vegetables." "That," Galen replied, "might be your greatest miracle." They spent hours discussing the city. Markets overflowing with life, children laughing where hunger had once lingered, neighbors helping one another without expecting payment. Galen listened quietly. "I always believed you'd change lives. I never imagined you'd change an entire city." He studied his friend. "You're smiling differently." Galen looked away. "So obvious. You've met someone." The old warrior laughed nervously. "Lyra." "The musician?" He nodded. "She says my discipline gives her courage. And I think her music reminds me of who I was before the wars." His smile faded. "There were times during those campaigns I thought I'd lost the light the sun gave me. I thought duty had hollowed me out." He stepped closer. "I've never seen darkness in you. I saw a man who carried burdens so no one else had to. If your light ever seemed dim, it was only because you spent it keeping others warm." Galen closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they shone with tears. I think that's the kindest thing anyone has ever said to me." The two embraced, not as commander and cleric, not as warrior and healer, but as brothers. As he stepped into the lantern-lit streets, Caldris glowed beneath the evening sky. The residence gardens shimmered beyond the city walls. Children laughed, merchants bargained, musicians played, the aroma of fresh bread drifted through the air. For the first time, he understood something his old mentor had once whispered. A miracle is not the moment someone is healed. A miracle is the moment they become someone who heals others. He looked across the city. This was only the beginning. The sun had not chosen him to stand above others. It had chosen him to teach ordinary people that they could become the light themselves. Years later, people would call him many things: cleric, builder, teacher, guardian, friend. Each title would matter for a while. His greatest work would outlive every one of them, not because people remembered the man, but because they remembered how to become the light themselves. The city would one day know him as the guardian of Caldris. His name was Froid.